r/NoSleep. Posted by Reddit user Mr_Mojo_Riza95. I used to work as a night clerk at a motel. I had to follow specific guidelines to ensure my safety. These are my stories. Part 2. Case 2. The Wanderers. I had left Margot's office that morning with a dull headache and a sore body, like I'd been hit by a bus. I shuffled to my car, chewing on a glazed donut. The sun was already searing. My car parked alone in that lot. The whizzing of cars going by on the ever-busy Highway 88. The desert had an aroma to it, like salt mixed with dirt. It seeped into my body, the sun tanning my skin. Margot was so kind to let me live in one of the rooms in exchange for some handiwork to do around the motel. God knows this place needed it. Days turned into weeks, and Margot and I grew closer, spending our time reminiscing about one's life, adventures, lovers. I grew quite fond of Margot. While Anna had broken my heart, Margot seemed to find a nice healed spot all to her own. My night shifts at the motel became more routine. Sure, creepy shit would happen from time and time again. Pictures would be ripped from the walls. Whispers floated through the halls. Every so often you'd catch a shadowy figure walking past you. You'd swear you bumped into something, or something would brush up against you when you're all alone. Margot was well adjusted to these things. I was still playing catch up. Occasionally, a tap on the glass would startle me. He'd begin standing there in the dark, his long trench coat swaying. At times, he'd wander the room, directions, or one time he wanted me to pour him a drink. Luckily, I had a bottle of vodka tucked under the desk, hidden from Margot. I went to grab him a glass, and when I returned, he was gone. Margot and myself came to the conclusion that he was not human. He was something otherworldly. He doesn't eat, nor drink. We don't even know if he breathes. All we know is that he's tethered to the motel, and if you don't follow the guidelines, something sinister will happen to you. While the puppeteer was extremely unsettling, he just became routine. What always threw me for a loop was Rule 4. Never open the front door for anyone. It'll always be unlocked for guests to come in. The first night it happened must have been 6 months after I took the job. The puppeteer had been hounding me for a while, and then his visits became less frequent. That's when the Wanderers started coming. Margot likes to call them the Wanderers. They wander around the building, begging to come in. If you let them be outside in the cold, they won't bother you. A young man by the name of Paul worked at the motel for 3 weeks. Margot said he was arrogant and handsome, something he knew fully of. Margot has the building outfitted with surveillance cameras, inside and out. More than once has a convict or a criminal been racing down the highway, avoiding the law, and stumble out to Margot's establishment looking for a place to lay low. Well, Mr. Paul was sitting at the wooden desk one night, flipping through a nudie magazine, when a knock came on the front glass door. Paul looked up to be greeted by a young, petite blonde. Margot explains that this woman called out to Paul, begging for her to be let in. Too sure of himself, Paul headed towards the door, with the rules in hand. He was face to face with the pretty blonde, separated by the thin glass door. The camera conveniently cut out, and the last shot to be seen were Paul opening the door and the young blonde stepping through. Margot pulled up to the motel early that morning, the front door wide open. She cautiously headed inside to see Paul lying in a pool of his own blood. His chest was ripped out in a hollow cave. Rib bones sprayed apart like stick art. Margot was pretty upset after that one. Gone so quick. But she didn't have the heart to leave this place, after all the history her family has with this building. Like I said earlier, the motel had been in her family for generations. Unsure when the sinister nature of the motel started, Margot had been a seasoned veteran since she was a little girl. I just wished she was there when my first wanderer came to visit. The motel hits a slow spot in the winter months. The desert gets cold. Icy winds race through, while howls of coyote packs fill the air. Only one guest was at the motel that night. A bulky, middle-aged man covered in tattoos. I figured he was some kind of biker. I sat at the desk trying to solve a Sudoku. Well, the night rolls on, and I'm getting closer to solving the Sudoku when a thunderous crash above me nearly makes me soil myself. I'm covered in dust and plaster from the pounding on the ceiling. Frustrated, I grabbed the wooden baseball bat I kept behind the desk and headed towards the room above. I bang on the door, knowing the biker is in there, since he didn't leave after he checked in. Only one way into the motel, one way out of the motel. Hey, open up! What the hell was that? I pounded on the door. It slowly pushed open. I stood back, the door creaking open. Hello? I asked, the darkness before me. A faint breeze blew from within the dark room. I waited in front of the darkness, my grip on the bat whitening my knuckles. As the pressure rose, I waited for the biker to come charging out. I barely heard the desk bell chime over the ringing of my ears. I pulled myself away from the room, like pulling apart a magnet, and headed towards the lobby. Empty. I circled the lobby. No one was there. A place like this, your mind can start playing tricks on you. As I went to sit down, the same loud crash came right above me, covering me in more dust and plaster. That's it! I shouted. I nearly fell over when the figure at the door appeared. The biker stood behind the glass door, frozen, not moving a muscle. He lifted his thick hand and wrapped it around the door handle. I prayed that he would be able to open it. He was looking at his hand like he was trying to force it to operate. His beady eyes met mine. "Henry," he said in a voice much higher than a scary-looking biker. "Henry, the door won't open. Won't you let me in?" My stomach churned when I heard him speak. That stomach-dropping feeling when you go off a roller coaster drop. His fingers still wrapped against the door handle. I could see his veins pulsing through his neck. I didn't say anything. "Henry, it's cold out here. Please, let me in." The biker continued, sounding more and more like a little schoolgirl. I slowly made my way to the desk, never letting go of the baseball bat. The main phone rang. My eyes darted towards it. The biker ran away from the door, giggling all the way. "Yeah, front desk, how can I help you?" I asked. "Hey, what's the deal with room service around here? I'm fucking starving," the biker demanded. My mind froze. Was I dreaming, I thought? "Hello? Anyone home? I said, what's the deal with room service? You got any food down there?" Yeah. Sorry about that. There's, a vending machine on the second floor, if you'd like," I said shakily. "A fucking vending machine? You gotta be kidding me." The biker hung up. A little giggle came through the phone before it clicked off. I stared at the phone wide-eyed, feeling that cold shiver shimmy down my spine. I don't remember much after that. All I know is I rested my head for a few moments on the desk, and the next thing I know, I'm being startled awake by glass shattering. I jump up, only to catch a glimpse of something running away. One of the glass doors had a large hole broke through. I ran towards the door and watched as someone disappeared into the darkness. It was like a reflex. I ran out after them, into the desert. I wish I would have checked my watch. It was well after 3 a.m. When you're tired, you can't react to your fullest potential. I wasn't thinking straight. I was reacting to whatever punk messed with the motel. I was trying so hard to upkeep. There's a few things I regret in my life. Few mistakes, but many lessons learned. This one here was a hard lesson. As I faded further into the darkness, my hopes quickly washed out of catching whoever was out there. I stood surrounded by the darkness, with the constellations above me, the dim flickering lights of the motel behind me. I never realized how small I was, standing alone in the middle of the vast desert. That moment of curiosity was quickly cut short when I heard my name being called from within the darkness. "Henry," a woman's voice called out. I swirled around in the darkness, searching for where it came from. "Henry," a man called out. "I'm here," I cried out. "Henry, Henry, Henry." Men, women, children, all called out within the darkness. My head spun with confusion. I crumpled to the floor, feeling the pressure build up in my head as voices droned on, like they were being seeped into my skull. I yelled out in pain, my teeth grinding hard. Their footsteps grew louder, circling all around me. When I felt like I was going to explode from the pressure, the voices were screaming inside me. A bright flashing light shone on me. A car stopped before me, the headlights illuminating my crumpled body in the dry sand. Margot stumbled out of the car and raced towards me. She helped me to my feet and brought me to the car. From beyond the distance of the car headlights, hundreds of people stood motionless in the dark. Margot stuffed me inside and reversed the car, heading towards the motel. As we left, the horde of wanderers back in the darkness, I caught a glimpse of the puppeteer standing tall within the crowd of wanderers. Margot and I sat on the motel lobby floor. It was 4:15 a.m. She looked so disappointed at me. "I'm sorry, Margot. I didn't check the time and I was so tired. But do you see the door? One of them tried to get in here," I cried. Margot turned away from me, rubbing her forearm ever so gently. "Are you okay?" I asked, holding her shoulder softly. "When I came to get you, one of them got me." Margot lifted her sleeve, revealing her thin, veiny arm. A pulsating red burn marked the length of her arm. Black and red veins coursed through it. I lightly grazed it. It was nearly burning in touch. Margot flinched away in pain. "When I ran out to grab you, I saw him in the crowd." "The puppeteer?" I asked. "I saw him too." Margot hung her head low. "Well, I saw him, and he sure as hell saw me. We stared at one another for a moment. I got lost in those auburn eyes. Something inside me wanted to wade through that crowd of people and go up to him. That pool got broken when one of the wanderers grabbed me by my arm. I'll tell you, Henry, It felt like someone stuck me with a hot poker. It was a young girl, straight brunette hair. She had these coal black eyes and just stared at me with this blank expression. I managed to pull away from her and get to you. I've never seen that many wanderers before, Henry. I've got a bad feeling. Me too, Margot. Me too. We sat together in the lobby the rest of my shift. Margot rested her head on my shoulder, nursing her arm. I watched from the broken glass door as the sun rose above Highway 88. It was going to be a hot one today. I could already feel it. Margot wasn't the same after that night. I regret ever going out there, especially what came following.